It's time for Money, Power, and Politics. We just talked about the Walmart CFO's warning that consumers are about to feel the impact of Donald Trump's tariffs. And now today, Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell cautioned that we'll likely see higher long-term interest rates, along with what he called supply shocks. Here now, Courtney Brown, senior economics reporter for Axios and co-author of the Axios Macro newsletter, and Rick Newman, who is the senior columnist for Yahoo Finance. Thank you both for being here. Okay, Rick, you just 2 days ago, you wrote that Trump could have claimed victory over inflation if not for his tariff policy, which I think everybody agrees with. What is your reaction to these warnings now from Walmart and the Fed chair today?
They're not even remotely surprising. I mean, we know what's going to happen here. We're talking about something like $3 trillion worth of products that we import from other countries. There's a new tax on almost all of those products. It ranges from 10% to 30 or 35% in some cases. And when you tax a product, I mean, somebody has to pay more. So everybody who buys these products, starting with the companies that import them, the wholesalers that buy them from the companies, the retailers that buy them from the wholesalers, and then the end consumers, you and I, who purchase those products, we're going to pay the tax. That's just the way this tax works. So we are going to see price increases on imported goods that are more or less in line with whatever the new tariff is. It's going to be clothing from China. It's going to be leather goods, handbags. It's going to be automobiles. It's going to be pharmaceuticals. The cost of automobiles is going to go up, which means the cost of car insurance is going to go up. And none of this is surprising because it's just a direct reaction to the tariffs.
Okay, so Courtney, Rick is right. The things are going up. In your latest newsletter, you talk about how basically the recession fears, they have not yet materialized. So maybe is this more like a vibes session, if you will? Because, and maybe the recession may never materialize. I remember we have been warning about a recession, it seems like, for years now, yet how the consumers feel, what they are being hit with when they go to the grocery store, when they try to pay for their car insurance, buy a car, when they're looking at things, just as Rick laid out, the prices they're seeing are, in fact, higher.
Right. So I think the difference between the vibe session, which was very 2022, 2023, 2024, is we knew there was an inflation problem. The line was moving clearly in one direction. Now we see inflation actually cooling for now. Consumers are still upset about the fact that prices are higher, so they don't really care about the rate of prices going up. They care about the price level. And now they're preparing for what might be another inflation shock. And I think we're not seeing it in the hard data. The inflation numbers right now look good. We had a whole data dump today, and no one on Wall Street cared. It wasn't the story. The story was what Walmart said. And I feel like that just says everything about this moment that we're in. It's not the vibe session economy. I think it's more like the anecdote economy. The anecdotes, the warnings from Walmart, they tell the story about what's happening in the economy right now, not necessarily CPI or PPI or all those alphabet soup of indicators we usually watch.
Well, Rick, I mean, if the world's largest retailer cannot afford to absorb tariff costs, where does that leave small businesses? Where does that leave the restaurants?
Well, I wouldn't say they can't afford to absorb them. I think Walmart could, but Walmart has an obligation. I mean, it's a publicly owned company with public shareholders. I mean, millions of shareholders. And Walmart has an obligation to maximize profits. That's just what publicly owned companies have to do. Small businesses, it depends what they sell, but they have the same problem. In many cases, small businesses have smaller profit margins. Sometimes they can pass higher costs right on to consumers, their own customers, depending on whether those customers must have their products. And sometimes they can't. If it's a tchotchke that maybe somebody would like to buy but doesn't, and it goes up by 10 or 20%, that could be the difference right there. A lot of these businesses. Small businesses don't have huge profit margins in general. So if somebody just comes along and arbitrarily says, I'm going to raise your cost by 10 or 20%, that can be a huge problem for them. I mean, they cannot automatically go to a bank and get an extra $1 million loan. By the way, small businesses, they have to pay import tariffs the moment they take that merchandise. way before they sell it, way before they even know whether they're going to be able to raise their own prices to their consumers. That's a cash flow problem for companies that can't just go to JP Morgan and say, increase my credit line by $10 million. So this is really roiling small businesses in ways that I think Donald Trump doesn't appreciate.